So now I'm going to talk about how to use the growth rate data that I made before to get some basic summary statistics. Now, some of this I'm using in class as actually an assignment, so I'm only going to do a couple of summary stats, and I'm just going to show how to do some of them basically by hand. So here we're going to do the minimum, the maximum, and the median. And we're going to do it, one, just doing column by column, which shows us how to work with columns in R. But another thing is we're going to use the apply function, which will allow us to get across columns or into a single table or a single group. So what I'm going to do first here is I'm going to open the data, which I've posted to my website. Now, some of my students, I'm going to make them open a CSV here with the hashtags, but right now I'm opening it up from my website where it's already posted. And you can see here I've got Canada real growth rate. Remember, Y is GDP. And I've got Japan, the United Kingdom, and the United States. And the head, the first 5 observations, shows that these are some plausible growth rates in percentages from year to year. All right. So first thing we're going to do is minimum values, which is min, M-I-N, and then what we're going to take is the second column of the data set. So we called the data, and we're going to do the minimum for a data second column. And we get the lowest growth rate is negative 5.6%, which is quite the recession. And we can do it for column 3 for Japan. We can kind of compare the two, negative 4.8%. Right? So we could do that over and over, or the easier way to do it is the apply function. And so when you look at anything in R, you always kind of think of it logically. It kind of helps you know what to put where. So you're going to apply the same thing over and over. So you take apply. Well, you say, well, what do you apply? What data set? We have data. This thing 2 stands for row and column in that order. 1 would be rows, so you could apply across rows, or you could do the columns, which is 2. All right, so we're going to do across columns and what function. Now you can use a provided function. Sometimes in more advanced applications you actually make your own function, but right now we're just going to do apply for the minimum. You can see it matches. Now the minimum year doesn't tell us much because we start in 1970, but you can see that it matches for the first 2 columns, and you can see the US actually has the lowest, or the least bad recession, you could say. So that's the 4 values that we care about. And we got it in 1 click. Now we can do it for another function. We could start with median row by row, the median in growth rate, 2.8%, or we could apply it as well. So all we did was change the function name. So it's the data set's the same and it's still columns, but we're taking median. All right, so run it here. Again, the median year is just the halfway point between 1970 and 2017. It's really not useful for us. And because it's an even number, right, you always take the average of 2. But you can see here Japan is the lowest median growth rate, so to speak. So now we have, there's a question for my class. You can look at the maximum as well. All right, and I already answered the highest median growth rate just now. Now, one last thing I'm going to do, we already used the apply function, but I'm going to introduce the which function. This isolates observations or columns, rows, whatever you look for, that meet a certain criterion. You can use less than, equal to, less than, or equal to, and so forth. Here I'm going to use it for the equal sign. What I'm saying here is in column 3 for Japan, for in data column 3, which value is equal to, and notice I mixed the notation. Column 3 is here for Japan, but you can also say data $, JPRY. These are equivalent. The reason why I do it personally is I use a lot of time series data, and you can't use the $ symbol for time series. So these are equal. So which in data 3 equals the minimum observation for that column, right? And so this is going to return the observation number that meets that criterion. Right? Observation 40. Now what do you do with that? And that has little economic meaning. You would never say observation 40, you would say the year. So I'm going to find the year. Now we know the years are stored in column 1 over here, and we're going to say, well, what's row 40, column 1? And that is going to return 2009, and you would expect that for any country. That's the height of the Great Recession, and so it would not be unexpected to find that the lowest growth rate, the biggest recession, is found in 2009. Right now, if you're in my class, you could do the same thing for the U.S.'s lowest growth rate. Right, probably going to be pretty similar, but we know what we could change in here and here to do that. Right. So what I did right now is just kind of give an introduction to some of the functions you could use. Now in class, I would ask for mean and standard deviation and so forth. But right now we're just introducing a couple of things. One is the minimum function, and we're doing it 2 ways, column by column, and then I'm introducing the apply function, which allows you to do things across rows or columns. And then secondly, I'm using the which function to kind of isolate something that meets a certain criteria. And then these data can be used further to be look for other things. And notice they're not even a time series yet, so there's a lot more we can do with these data.